Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Stream Key podcast. It is Thursday, which means it's time for an interview. And today I'm really excited to have PlanetRez, who is a brand new True partner, on the show for the very first time. Planet, how's it going today, man?
It's going good. How about yourself?
Doing great, dude. Really excited to have you on because, you literally just got partnered over the last week. And I honestly, I have a lot to learn about all the new partners, so I'm excited to have you on. Just to learn more about what you do, your stream, and also the topic for today. Really excited about this one. So for anyone who hasn't seen this show before, this is our weekly show that we do 3 times a week, actually. This is the interview version of that show where we try and unpack lessons and strategies for you to grow on Twitch or any streaming platform, what the tactics there are. And this week, the topic theme is tips for new streamers. So if you're kind of new to streaming, just getting into it, you're kind of overwhelmed by everything going on, what are the most important things to focus on? And what should you really be spending your time on mostly as a streamer? So I'm excited to have PlanetRez talk more with us through this topic. And of course, if you guys have questions, you're more than welcome to say them until the end. The first 40 minutes will just be me and Rez talking about this, and then any questions will open up at the end for you to ask. So just hang tight. Promise we'll get to those in a bit. But first of all, let's just meet PlanetRez a little bit. And Rez, I'm excited to hear this too. Can you just kind of give us a brief introduction to your channel, what kind of stuff you stream, what you're all about?
Okay, so my channel, I am a variety caster. I play a ton of different games. I mainly stick to Paladins and Dead by Daylight, but I do branch off into other things such as Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, play a game called Minion Masters, which is a free-to-play RTS style game. So I try to do a lot of different things with my channel whenever it comes to different types of games. Dead by Daylight and Paladins obviously being 2 very different games. Right. But the whole entire thing around my channel is it's just a good time. I'm a giant goofball. I say stupid things. I do stupid things. That's half the fun of my channel is you never really know what's going to happen the next 10 seconds. I don't even know what's going to happen in the next 10 seconds.
Right. That's awesome. I know you use a lot of kind of fancy green screen effect stuff too. Is that right?
Yes. So with my green screen, I've always wanted to have a cool background, but I never really could afford the fancy room, all the lighting, all the things to have behind you. So a compromise to that was a green screen, because I think that having green screen, you can do a lot of different things with that. You can be anywhere, you can do anything that you want. So it's a really nice compromise.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, it's a really good point because it may sound easier to just not have a green screen and use a room, but in practice, that can add up and be expensive. So good strategies there. Really quickly, how long have you been streaming on Twitch so far?
So I've been streaming off and on for about 3 years. Made my account in 2015 back in stream Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Gave up on it, or I won't say gave up on it. Had life things happen for a little bit, and so I've really been streaming consistently, probably about 6 months now.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so on and off until then.
Awesome. So would you still consider yourself pretty kind of new to the platform overall?
In FaceTime, yes. In practice, no. I've been obsessed with Twitch since day one. I've been really looking at the platform and everything about it. I love the community about it. I love basically everything about Twitch in general.
Awesome stuff. Cool. That's a great background. Where did your username come from? PlanetRez. What's the story there?
So I've always had a fascination with space. I've always loved the idea of space, of not knowing really anything about it. It's like the ocean. You don't know much about it. So that's where the planet part came from. And also I want it to be my channel about, I want my branding to be about me. So what better way to do that than have an entire planet dedicated to my ego? And then as far as the res part, there's really no, my name used to be Planet Resgasm, but I realized that didn't really sound too professional. So I just shortened it to PlanetRez.
Gotcha.
That's where the name comes from.
So no immediate significance behind the res part?
No, not really.
Okay, fair enough. I think there's a lot of people who have names that don't really mean anything. I just like to ask that question to hear about it. Cool. So my last little warm-up question for you here is, I know you've only been streaming for about 6 months consistently, but do you have like a favorite streaming moment in those 6 months so far?
So as far as the 6 months go, I would say that it's the people I've met. If we're talking about Twitch in general, though, I think my favorite moment on Twitch, and it's two different moments, would have to be the moments I was rated by Tim the Tapman twice in a week.
What?
Yeah. So at the very beginning of this year, right before I started taking streaming a little bit more seriously, I was streaming on again, off again, and out of nowhere comes this giant 18,000 person raid from Tim the Tapman. And that blew my mind. And then about a week later came another giant host from Tim the Tapman. And then I proceeded to follow that up with not streaming for 3 months.
Oh man.
Yeah, yikes.
That's rough because it was before you were consistent about streaming. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know many people who've had the opportunity to be rated once, let alone twice by someone like Tim. Yeah. So that's crazy. Cool. Well, that's definitely a good memory, and hopefully you'll be lucky enough to get a third if things happen right. Cool. So let's touch on the main discussion today, which again is tips for new streamers. What to focus on when you're a newish streamer to the platform. My biggest question is, I always ask guests if they have something they feel especially passionate or experienced with, and this is one of the things that you mentioned. So why is this something that you wanted to talk about?
I think that this is one of those topics that a lot of people like to talk about and like to hear, but not many people really are, what's the right word? I guess educated on the subjects, or have looked at what works and what doesn't work for as long as I have. Like I said, I've been on Twitch for 3 years now. And almost every single moment of that has been dedicated to learning the platform, learning how it works, learning algorithms, learning what the big dogs do and that type of stuff. So it's one of those things that I love helping people out. And one of the best ways that I feel like you could help someone out on Twitch who is new to Twitch is give them the ground floor of how the site works.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's really cool. And like you said, you've had those 3 years to kind of just watch the platform and really see. I'm sure people start, and whether it's new streamers, people that have been on there for 3 years, you can kind of see the progression in those people. So that's really cool. And I'm glad to hear that you love to help people, because that's what we're all about too. So awesome stuff. So to start off here, let's just get some high-level overview of sort of the most important things that you think people should be focusing on when they're new to Twitch.
All right. So I actually have 7 things that I'm going to run down real quick of what I think is important as far as to a very new streamer. Number 1 is get a camera. I think that's the most important piece of equipment that you can have, because streaming is based on 2 things: gameplay and you. So the best way to leverage that is to be in front of people so they can see your facial expressions. Second thing is that something that we've already touched on: make yourself and your surroundings interesting. Have things that people could look at and identify with, whether that's a shirt, as you can see here, I'm wearing a Mario shirt. If you look in my room, no matter what corner of the room that you're looking at, there's always something that pertains to me and my hobbies, what I like, whether that be anime, video games, computer hardware, whatever. Number 3, I would say, is learn how OBS works. That's probably one of the bigger things. It looks confusing at first, but if you just dive in and then take the time to learn it, it's actually fairly standard, fairly easy. Number 4 would be figure out why people are going to watch you. What is going to be your branding? Whether that's a personality trait that you can really hone in on, the game that you play. A lot of people will watch people to see good gameplay. A lot of people will watch people because they like who they are as a person. You really got to find out what works for you and really just hone in on that. The 5th thing would be, how are you going to be bringing people to your channel? So what I mean by that is try to get active on other social media such as Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Those are really good ones to bring up with your Twitch channel. and it'll be a lot easier in the long run to grow if you're growing your socials. And then finally, the last thing is take failure in stride. I think a lot of people are afraid to change on Twitch. They're afraid of they've done this one thing and that's all they know. So that taking the failure with stride of saying, "Hey, this isn't working for me. I should change it," is going to be one of the biggest things on Twitch.
Awesome. I love that you have a list because we're definitely just go through here and go through all these different questions. Okay, so let me make sure I have the list right first before we do this. So number 1, camera. Number 2, make yourself / surroundings interesting. Number 3 is learn OBS. Number 4 is figure out why people will watch you / your brand. Is that 1 or 2 points there?
I would say that's 1 point.
Okay. Number 5, how you're going to bring people to your channel. And 6, to learn from your mistakes. Am I missing one here? So I thought you said 7. I just want to make sure I missed something.
Okay, so there's one more.
Okay.
Networking.
Okay.
Quote unquote networking. Basically, that just means make genuine friends on the website, and try to grow your community with others people's communities.
Gotcha. Awesome. So let's jump through each of these points point by point. I really like already what you're kind of hitting on, but let's unpack them a bit here. So first of all, camera. I'm actually kind of interested that you brought this up. Do you think the camera is more important than your microphone as a new streamer?
Yes.
Interesting. Why do you say that?
Audio is great to have. If you can have the professional mic, if you can have the soundboards or whatever, do whatever you want with your mic, more power to you. But like I said, whenever it comes to Twitch, you got 2 different aspects of your stream. You got your gameplay, which you're playing, and you have the streamer. Most people who watch Twitch, while they're looking for a specific game, they're watching the streamer for the streamer. They want to see you. They want to see your facial expressions. They want to see how you react to things. Like I said, audio, great if you can have it, if you can afford it. But whenever you compare it to getting that FaceTime in, being able to do things, people being able to identify with you as a person and see you, I 100% believe that a camera is the way to go as far as your pretty standardized equipment.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, this is definitely not like a black and white rule thing. I hear a lot of people who stress audio over video, but it's interesting to hear your kind of perspective on the camera. What would you say in terms of someone who's looking for a starter camera if you're new? Do you have any specific suggestions for a type of camera?
Depending on your budget, if you're wanting to go on the cheaper end, the Logitech I believe it's a C270. It's a 720p, I believe 30 FPS webcam. That's the one I started out with. It's like I said, it's pretty standard. You're not going to really be able to do much with it.
Right.
The one I currently use is a C920. It's 1080p, 60 FPS. You can do a lot of things with it. It's a lot more crystal clear. That one's probably the standard one that you'll see on most people on Twitch use, or most Twitch streamers use. Those are 2 that I would recommend personally, and the ones that I've used up until this point. Obviously, if you can afford to have the XLR camera, doesn't hurt, but starting out on Twitch, you really don't want to go full on buy everything just because you can have it.
Yeah, it's an easy trap to fall into for a lot of people. I definitely recommend the C920 as well. That's what we're using. Well, I'm using right now, so definitely get that. It's about $45 to $60 usually. You can find it on sale a lot, so good recommendation. Step in the chat also mentioned that it's much easier to get good video than good audio. I agree with that. If you want to really invest, getting the same level of video versus audio, you're going to put more money into audio to get there. So that's a good point to bring up as well. Awesome. So kind of tying into that, because the camera is only the first piece, the second piece is what you show with it, right? That's kind of your second point here, which is how do you make yourself or your surroundings interesting? And what's your advice for someone who, they're starting out, they don't know how to make their camera, what it's looking at, interesting?
The best piece of advice I could give is to just sit down and brainstorm what you like and try to incorporate that into your background. So what I do a lot is obviously have a green screen, do whatever I want. My own entire thing is that I'm the president of the Res Public. I have my own little office area. I have windows in the background with like world-ending catastrophes happening behind it, behind me. So it's really engaging. I could switch over to that scene. Say if I get a raid, if I get a host, I can switch over to that scene real quick. Say step into my office, and then look behind me or look at my green screen. It looks like I'm looking behind me, and then say, "Don't worry about that. That's not really. It's going to go away shortly. I promise." And so it's really about just be as creative as you can possibly be. If your thing is being on top, be over the top. If your thing is having a minimalistic look, be minimalistic. Just whatever you do, try to incorporate whatever your interests are and try to dive headfirst into that when creating a background.
Yeah, those are really good points. A couple things there. First of all, you use a green screen. And what I like about the way you use it is you do things that you couldn't do without a green screen. And you design your scenes in a way that the green screen makes them better, if that makes sense. I see a lot of people who get a green screen or feel like they need a green screen because it's just another thing that all the streamers have and I gotta have it too. Whereas some people like you and, you know, more famously Dr. Disrespect, whatever, they have very interactive scenes where the green screen is actually really important to what they want to be doing. So I like that a lot. And like you said, if you have a green screen, it does give you that flexibility to not have to buy things and actually set up things behind you. You can kind of improvise and make your own stuff. And then on the other side, like you mentioned, when you're setting up a scene, using things that you're interested in is really big if you do go the route of having stuff behind you like I do here. And really just sharing things that you're interested in behind you. I know some people will probably be sort of scared to share things about themselves, even if it's just like things they're into. But like you mentioned, anime and games and shirts, all that stuff is great. And it's probably going to come out on your stream at some point anyway. So I like that you mentioned that. And that's a good way to get started if you want to set up that sort of stuff, I think. Yeah. Do you have any other piece of advice for people who are just sort of stuck in this spot here?
So as far as if you're stuck in that spot, I think that's something that I had trouble with whenever I first started. I didn't know what I wanted to do with anything. I didn't really have a direction to go. So something that I did was I checked out other streams. I looked at what they had and I saw a lot of things that I liked and that I was interested in with those. And it really got the ball rolling with really setting everything up. Like you mentioned, Dr. Disrespect, how he has his interactive scenes, how he can get up, walk into a different room and be somewhere completely different. A lot of people who have that traditional background of having not a green screen, but having things behind them. What they'll do is have posters of what they're interested up, have wall scrolls, have, you know, different things set up, lighting. So what I did, like I said, is just I checked out what other people did and saw what I was interested in, trying to incorporate that into my stream.
Yeah, I love that too. We just had someone in the community who, you know, was watching one of our streamers and loved their lighting setup. So reached out and kind of found a similar lighting setup. So that's a great point too. And I think this applies to more than just, you know, green screen and camera setups and room setups. Just taking ideas and inspiration from other streamers is so great to growing your own channel, whether it's, you know, your style of gameplay or the things you do and say on stream, all that you can learn from others. So great idea. And I think especially on like branding elements, you can learn a lot that way. Love it. Okay, so let's jump into the next point you mentioned, which is learn how OBS works. I like this point a lot. To start this off, do you think it's important that people start with OBS versus something like Slobs or Mixer? And that's Streamlabs OBS for anyone who doesn't know.
Slobs and OBS are pretty similar. If I had to choose one, if you're just starting out, I would go with Slobs because it's a lot more streamlined. You have everything in one spot. You have your chat on the left side or right side. You have your event feed up top so you can see who follows, who donates and stuff like that. So it's really nice to have. It's very similar to OBS regardless, and it's pretty easy to set up once you dive in it. Then you have XSplit is another one. That one's more complicated to learn, but it's more advanced. You can do more things with it. I personally haven't really used it much myself, but I do have friends who use it, and they absolutely love the challenge of learning it. And then whenever they do learn the stuff with it, being able to elaborate on things. But definitely, if you're starting out, I would personally recommend Slobs, just because it is a lot more focused on new streamers.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is. It has all the chat built in, alerts, all that sort of stuff. So very cool. When you say, learn how OBS works, or Streamlabs OBS in this case, what are some of the most important things you think people should be learning when they're new to streaming?
Learn how to edit things. What I mean by edit things is that how to say that whenever I'm running a green screen, how chroma key things out. With my audio, I run filters on Streamlabs, or I run it through filters on Slobs. I have multiple hotkeys. I think I can count about 15, 16 hotkeys I have.
Wow.
To switch to different scenes and to do different things. Learning how to implement certain things into Slobs, like I use an audio spectrum, and you have to run a whole bunch of different programs into Slobs and set it up through that. So really take the time to learn everything that you want to do, and learn how to do it through Slobs, or learn how to do it through your streaming software in general.
Yeah, this is really good too, because I come from the background of, video editing and music production, and the same thing applies. Like, you're always going to be limited by the software you're using for a lot of these things. So if you take the time to learn a lot of even like the seemingly annoying or not important things about your software, you'll be surprised what you can do with it. Like this podcast, for example, is all run on OBS, and it looks like it's some sort of overlay, but it's all actually just a bunch of OBS elements working together. So you can design overlays and graphics and things without having to go pay a designer a lot of times, if you know how to do it. And just you can do more with your stream, and by extension create better content if you know what you're doing. So I like those points a lot. What would you say is like the most important thing you think people should know, if you had even one thing relating to learning streaming software, or maybe something that more people should know how to do in OBS?
One thing that I think is really nice is transitions. And I don't think that a lot of people know exactly how to set up a transition. What's a stinger transition? What's a static transition? Stuff like that. So if I had to just pick one that's not really common knowledge, it would be that.
Right.
Other than that, though, would be the audio filters. That's another big one that I run. How to compression, noise, or gain, noise floor, stuff like that. Learn how to do stuff like that. It helps out a lot.
Yeah, I love those. I mean, the audio filters, you can even just use the default settings, and they're pretty good. Compressor, noise gate, and something else I can't think of. But yeah, those will help a lot, like you said. And stinger transition is a great point as well. A lot of those, there's a bunch of free ones online, and they're really easy to set up. So I like that, and I think people should definitely try those out more often. Sweet. All right, jumping on to the next point. Point number 4. Your point was figure out why people will watch you / your brand. This one I think is my favorite that you mentioned. Mostly because I think this is one that a lot of people don't think about, whether you're someone new or even 2 years into streaming or something. So let's kind of unpack this a little bit. What do you mean by this? And do you have any other just comments on it?
Okay. So what I mean by figure out your branding is figure out why people are going to be watching you specifically. Whenever you start on Twitch, you're going to be at the bottom of the directory. It's just a given. You're going to have tons of other people doing exactly what you're trying to do. So you really got to find out what makes you unique. You really got to figure out what makes you stand out versus the sea of other people that people could be watching. People's time is very valuable on Twitch. Most people only stick in a stream about 30 seconds before they leave. So you really got to find why or what is going to make you different in that 30-second window that people can identify with you specifically. That could be a lot of different things. That could be your personality. That's what I tend to focus on. Myself is my personality. I'm a very goofy person. I don't know what I'm about to say in the next sentence. So it really leads to a lot of interesting scenarios. It could be your gameplay. If you're just a god at video games, like say a Shroud, then then by all means go with that. Really figure out what people are going to be watching you for.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, I've talked about this a couple times in the past. And even, do you think this is the same thing as niche? Would you say this is basically niche, or is it different?
It could be compared. I think that there's a lot of similarities between finding a niche in a directory and finding your branding.
Right.
They share a lot of similarities. You have to know what people want to watch and what about you can translate into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then really they go hand in hand, finding your place in the directory, finding your niche in a directory, and finding your branding. If you're a variety streamer, 9 times out of 10, if you're a variety streamer, you're going with your personality regardless.
Right.
So it's a little bit easier to find your niche in a directory.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think to go along with that, the why behind why you're streaming in the first place is also important. I'm curious if you have thought through that, and if you kind of have your own answer to why you like to stream and why you stream at all.
Yeah, so a big thing about me is I love interacting with people. I love being able to see new faces, being able to talk to new people. It makes me happy knowing that I get to meet new people every single day. And then a big part of that is I like to be a positive influence on people. So what I think a lot of people get into streaming for the wrong idea. A lot of new people say, "Hey, I can make a living off of playing video games," and well, that's a good. I mean, don't be wrong. Obviously, that part of it is just if you get to stream video games for a living and get to talk to people for a living, obviously that's a big part of it. But I think a lot of people focus a little bit too much on that part or on that aspect of it. They see that it as a get rich quick thing. That overnight they're just going to blow up, be the next ninja, be the next myth. And it takes months, sometimes years of dedication to make this work. I mean, Ninja streamed for what 7 years before he got to the point that where he's at now. Myth streamed. I don't know Myth personally, but me and him come from the same directory of a game called Paragon, and I got to watch him evolve. He streamed for he did 2 separate 365-day challenges where he streamed every single day for 365 days.
Wow.
It's all about the grind behind it. And so personally, I do it because I love interacting with people.
I love that. See, and that affects kind of your whole path for your stream, because I think it's easy to jump into Twitch and be excited by it and start streaming and you like it. But having this question answered is so important at some point, because it's going to affect your satisfaction with your stream and if you feel like you're doing what you want to be doing. Because like if you said, if your goal was to make money, really, even if you didn't think about it, if like turns out that's really why you started streaming on Twitch and you don't really tell yourself that officially, you're going to be really disappointed when you don't make money or you don't get bits, and you'll be very confused and frustrated. But if you go into it with that expectation, and by the way, I think it's okay to do that. If you want to stream because you want to make money, just to be honest with yourself about it and think of ways that will facilitate that in your stream, because you can't just do the regular thing and expect to make more money than anybody else, if that makes sense. So, and then, in PlanetRez's case, if your goal or your why is because you love to interact with people, then money doesn't really matter to you. It's more about just interacting with people, and gameplay doesn't matter as much. It's just all about that chatting with people and the back and forth. So very important, and I'm really glad you brought that up for sure. Yeah, anything else to add on this point before the next one?
Yeah, I would say that if you're streaming for money, then own it. Don't try to be anything that you're not. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with getting into streaming for money. I think that's a real taboo subject that a lot of people don't like to talk about. or that's the golden rule of Twitch, is there's two things that you don't do. You don't advertise your stream in other people's streams. You don't talk about money on Twitch. That's just the golden rules of Twitch right there. So, I mean, if you're getting into Twitch for money, hey, own it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the issue is there's a lot of people who that's really why they got into Twitch, but they kind of cover it up or they act like it's not. And that's when it becomes an issue when you're lying about it, essentially. Yeah, if you're honest about it and you make, jokes about it or whatever, then more power to you, I say.
And the big thing about that is that if you are getting into Twitch for money, 9 times out of 10, those people don't last regardless.
Oh, for sure.
Because a lot of people, like I said, they don't know. You always hear about the grind of Twitch, right? You always hear about, I'm on that streaming grind. A lot of people say that. They don't really know what it means.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know the amount of time. Even whenever you're not streaming, you have to be focused on Twitch. You have to be doing other things outside of streaming to improve your stream. So a lot of people don't know what the grind is or what the grind means.
It's more than just hitting start streaming. There's a lot more involved. Yeah. Very good points. All right, let's move on to the next question here, or the next point, which is point number 5, if my math is right. How are you going to bring people to your channel? That's a very good point as well, because I was just watching a video today about how Twitch's discoverability is not the best compared to a lot of other platforms, like YouTube, Instagram, whatever. So what do you kind of mean by this in terms of how are you bringing people to your channel?
I think I know which video you're talking about. And in that video, they talk about how traversing Twitch can be a difficult thing if you want to find new streamers. You do have the recommended section on the front page, but 9 times out of 10, whenever people click on Twitch, the first thing that they do whenever they click on Twitch is hit that or go to following. They don't really look at the recommended section. I would really like to see the stats on how many follows come out of the recommended section and the discovering part of the front page. But whenever I say, how are you going to bring viewers to your channel, is what Twitch is a social platform that is very hard to be social on. And so you really have to broaden your horizons. A big thing is grow your Twitter, grow your Instagram at the same time. You'll see a lot of the bigger streamers doing that. Ninja, Myth, your really big dogs. You'll see them. What they do is they download their clippable moments and post it to Instagram, post it to Twitter. That's a really good way of doing that. Really, any way to get your content into more people's eyes, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up some good points there because, like we talked about earlier, you can learn a lot from bigger or more professional or more established streamers, right? This is just one more way you can do that. I mean, if you see Ninja and Tim and whoever posting clips to Instagram, hey, maybe you should try that out because it's clearly working for them. So I like that a lot. And yeah, that's the really, we talk about this a lot on StreamKey. Getting discovered and standing out on Twitch is hard just because of the nature of the platform by default. You can do a lot of things right, but it's just not going to be as easy as something like YouTube or Instagram for some reasons, because there's not a really great discover feature on Twitch yet. I think they're working towards that, and there are some external resources and things, but inside Twitch, it tends to show a lot of the top streamers across the site, and it's harder to find the smaller ones. So using resources like Instagram or YouTube to kind of supplement that and boost yourself does help a lot. I'm curious, so kind of answer this for yourself. What is sort of your way that you like to bring people to your channel generally?
I think this goes with networking. The biggest way is if you're dead set on Twitch, become part of someone's community. Be friends or make genuine friends on the platform. That's probably the best way to grow on Twitch. And what I mean by that is some of my most recent friends that I am really good friends with, I met on Twitch. So try to not force yourself into someone's community. If it's not working, don't sit there and try to say and go into someone's community and say that they don't know your streamer after like the 10th time that you're in there. Don't sit there and say, "Oh, by the way, do you have? I'm a streamer too. Do you got any maybe some tips for me?" Don't sit there and do that. Just try to make genuine friends with the platform.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Do you have like a core social media off of Twitch, whether that's Instagram or YouTube or something?
I have 2 separate ones. So
Okay.
I have Twitter and then I have my Discord. Discord is another really good one as far as getting people in one place and getting your content to the people who are already watching you. Twitter and Instagram are really good to find people who aren't watching you. So with Discord, it's a real nice place. Everything isn't, you can have everything in one spot. You can have all the people who follow you in one spot. Every time someone follows you, or not every time, but every now and then mentions like, "Hey, we have a Discord." You can find updates there. You can find different things about the channel there. If I am ever gonna have an update to the channel, I'll post it there specifically first, and then post it to my other socials. Twitter, Instagram are really good for finding those people who aren't watching you, to find or to get people who aren't familiar with your content a little bit more familiar with you. So that's what I would say. Twitter and Instagram are really good for growing, or for really good for growing your stream. Discord is really good for the people who are already in your stream.
Yeah, I like that distinction a lot. And that's important too, because people kind of think of just all social media will help you grow, right? But it's not that simple, because each one will kind of help you in a different way. You know, Discord's really good for retaining the viewers and community you already have and kind of fostering that. Whereas, like you said, Twitter and Instagram have really good discoverability features, so you can use yourself to find new viewers there. That's what I like a lot. Very cool stuff, and I hope that helps a lot of new people, because I'm sure social media is probably one of the biggest daunting things when you're starting as a streamer, because there's so much out there now. So
yeah, you have to learn so much whenever it comes to social media these days. You have to learn how to be engaging on Twitter and Instagram. You have to know what people want. It's a lot like Twitch. You have to know what people want to see. You have to know what's going to work in front of people's eyeballs and what's going to get people engaged.
yeah, exactly. Very true. And even, you know, Instagram, taking pictures and selfies can be intimidating, and knowing what kind of stuff to post there and hashtags. It's a lot, but this is definitely a great primer in terms of knowing the functions of the platform, and then you can kind of learn how to use them to execute on those functions. So very cool. All right, we're kind of getting close to the end here already. It's going really quick. We have 2 more points to get through really quickly here, guys, before Q&A. So the 6th point is take failure in stride / learn from mistakes. What's your kind of story behind this one?
All right, so like I said, I've been on again, off again for 3 years. And obviously in those 3 years, there's been a lot of things that I figured out that just do not work. And that's a big part, which is the failure part, and being able to learn from that and learn from your mistakes and what works and what doesn't work. So try to look objectively at what you're doing, and don't be afraid to make changes in your stream if something just is not working.
Yeah, I think that's even more so the case for Twitch, because it's a live stream platform and not an edited, polished content platform. So everybody's going to make mistakes of some kind, whether you're saying something you should have said, or, you know, you've got a bad stream day or something. It definitely happens. So I like that point a lot in terms of learning from those mistakes and not being discouraged from them. That'll help you kind of keep pushing your stream further and further. I like that a lot. I'm moving kind of fast through these last 2 points because they're, I think, pretty more straightforward, and I want to get into Q&A. Last point you have for us is networking. Make genuine friends. You really quick, do you want to kind of touch on this one really quickly again?
Yeah. So with networking and making genuine friends, just be in their channels, support them in any way you can. Doesn't have to be monetarily. Like I said, go be in their Discords, be active in their Discords, be active on people's Twitters. Try to be just as helpful as you could possibly be, because you will, most of the time, if you are a genuinely nice person, people will want to help you out. People will want to share you with people they know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to just, you can't cheese networking, really, right? I mean, you can go through all these strategies and tactics, but really it just comes down to meeting people that want to watch your content and you want to watch theirs and stuff like that. So you mentioned, just spending time in Twitch streams. Do you also use Discord for this, I would guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's another big thing is being in people's Discords. A lot of Discords are kind of bare bones. There's really not people talking. That's because I think a lot of streamers who make Discord feel like it's just something that they have to do rather than something that that they need to interact with. And so go in their Discord, be active in their Discords, talk to people, learn what people like, learn what their community is about. And that's a really big way to learn how to, if you do get a host from said person, you already are a member of their community.
Right. Yeah. And that point you mentioned there about everyone feeling like they have to have a Discord is really important too. It goes back to the green screen. That's one of those things on the list of every new streamer should do this. And people can definitely just get kind of swept up in that and check off all the boxes without really thinking through why they did it and what the purpose is. Because, you'll see a lot of very small Discords for streamers who are just completely inactive or not used, or, they have it, but they don't really make use of it. So thinking through what you want to do with it and making sure you have a strategy for what you're actually setting up is important across the board. Cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it for all of your points. My last question for you before Q&A is, if you had to give one piece of advice to a brand new Twitch streamer about anything, what would you tell them?
I think the best piece of advice is don't sweat the numbers at first. You're going to grow much differently than anyone who's been at it for a long time is. Don't worry about your viewer number, especially, or your viewer count. That's a big thing that people do. That's a big thing that even streamers my size do. Just know the numbers and know what you can control and worry about what you can control.
Love that. Yeah, it's definitely easy to get swept up and set goals around numbers, and that can definitely lead to some heartache if that's what you kind of design your stream around. So great point to end on here. So let's jump into Q&A, guys. If you have a question for PlanetRez or myself, if you're a new streamer or experienced, about anything we talked about, or something we didn't talk about that you have just been struggling through on your stream, now is the time to ask. We just ask that you would tag TRUgaming in the chat so I see it in red there, and we'll answer your question here live on air about anything. We had a question from the chat earlier, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on it. So SCBG Country asked, what about all the people with Twitch in their names? Pointless or too pushy? So what are your thoughts on, if you're a starting streamer, a lot of people will do this. They'll put Twitch in, their game names or even in their Twitch name, which is strange. But what are your kind of thoughts on that whole phenomenon?
So I do this. I have TV or TTV in my gamer tags almost everywhere. I don't think that it's pushy per se. It is in people's faces, obviously. They see your name, it's like, hey, that's a streamer. But I've seen a lot of positive feedback on this, especially here recently. I'll be playing Dead by Daylight at 2:00 in the morning, and I noticed this a lot the past few days. I'll be playing Dead by Daylight 2:00 in the morning, not even streaming, and I'll be sitting there getting follows of people who I'm in game with. I think that as long as you're good about it, don't worry about it. Having TTV in your name, if that's what you want to do, then do it. It's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think, it can seem kind of pushy or cheesy to a lot of people, but if you think about it, most times if you're playing like random multiplayer online games, you'll see that person for one match and then probably never see them again. So, you're not going to get harassed about it. And if it means that you get 1 to 2 extra people following you or checking out your channel, then in my opinion, it's worth it because like we touched on earlier, it's really hard to get discovered. So that's just one more weapon you can have in terms of how to get yourself a bit more discovered across the board.
And then one thing you got to know whenever you do that is that you're going to get your fair share of trolls too.
Oh, sure.
You're gonna get your fair share of people who see TTV in your name and say, oh, guess what I'm about to do? So it's you got to be careful about it. but it's not that big of a deal.
Right. But I mean, that's still one more person in your stream, and that's one person that's helping you get higher in the directory to be seen by others. So, it's double-edged sword there. Cool. All right. So Stone Equation, the CEO of TRUgaming, has a question in the chat. He says, thoughts on the new VIP system and how it would fit into your stream, or any ideas on how to implement it, if at all. So what are your thoughts on VIP badges and that whole new system?
So my thoughts on VIP badges is that there's really interesting ways to implement them into a stream. However, I think that was just another one of those things that Twitch kind of threw at content creators and was like, here's this thing that no one really asked for versus everything else. So while there are ways that you can make it interesting, like something that I do instead of just making people VIP because they're there a lot, something I do is that instead of, if there's a streamer that I know is a streamer and I like them as a streamer, instead of making them an honorary mod, I'll make them a VIP in my chat. So whenever they come in, it's like, hey, that's a VIP. That's a streamer. Yeah, as far as the VIP in general, I just felt, to me, it just feels like another useless title, truthfully, that Twitch kind of threw at people just to kind of appease them. Say, hey, we've got this new feature that we rolled out. How you liking it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, you brought up a good point where no one really asked for it, and I feel like it's been kind of mixed so far. I haven't really seen a lot of it. I feel like, browsing around Twitch, people aren't using it that much. And we've talked about it here on the show, and it's been pretty divisive. Some people just don't use it at all. Some people just give it to everyone. So there's a total range of ways to use it.
The thing about VIP is that it's like Pandora's box. Once you give someone VIP,
right,
everyone who's there normally is going to be like, why am I VIP? Why don't I get that badge? It's just like, it's about the same reason, same reason you're not a mod. Calm down. Just, you don't get the title. Don't worry about the title.
Right. Yeah, I think so. At the end of the day, it kind of comes down to how you want to use it. I mean, there's definitely no right or wrong way to use it. Some people just use it as a meme. Some people use it to actually reward certain people. But overall, I would say I haven't really been that excited by it. If I see someone who has it in a channel, it's like, all right, that's a thing. That's my entire reaction right there.
Yeah, it's just indifferent, really. It's just not really needed. It's cool, I guess, but
yeah. So overall,
other things that we kind of were asking for.
Yeah. So don't stress too much about it. I would say I don't think it's really gonna be an important thing for most streams. Then just find some way to use it that makes you happy, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So Meemaw has a question in the chat. She says, "How can you draw chat out of just a few folks when you are starting out?" So that's a good question. A lot of new starting streamers have very few viewers or chatters in their streams, and it's very hard to talk to chat. What are your kind of tips for someone in that situation?
If you don't really have that many active chatters, the best advice that I can give you is just talk about the game, because there's really no good way to get people who aren't chatting. By all means, don't call them out. Don't sit there and look at your chat and see that it's not really active and go like, man, my chat is dead. Where are you guys? Don't do that. Try to just talk about the game. That's probably the best way. Talk about what's happening in the game, how you feel about what's happening in the game. Another good way is have a topic that you want to talk about. So something that I tried for a while there was I had a topic of the day that people would type exclamation point topic in the chat and it would bring up the topic of the day. Something as simple as like, what's your favorite movie? What do you like to do for fun? What's your favorite type of food? It's just like that. That's another good way of doing it in the early stages.
Yeah, going in with prepared topics so that you're ready and can just kind of rant about stuff. That's a great strategy. I've done that as well. Also, I like that you mentioned the whole the chat's so dead thing. Don't do that, because I think a lot of new people will kind of feel that way. And then also, if you have a couple people in your stream, tell them not to say that either.
Yeah, that's a
big turn off.
I can't tell you how many people I've had on just like a slow day, how many people I've had. It's like, man, where is everybody?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, I feel great now.
Yeah, it's so quiet in here. Well, the problem with that is that if you have lurkers who are just kind of watching and somebody says that, then the lurker is kind of like, oh yeah, it is kind of boring. Like, I think I'll leave.
Yeah, the lurkers, they're just like, oh, it's like they have one or two reactions, like, oh, I don't matter, I guess, or you know, that guy is right. Screw this place, I'm gone. It's just like, two very different reactions, but both of which don't really have the impact that the streamer wants.
Right. So if you have mods starting out or something, or a couple close friends, just kind of DM them and ask them not to say that if they have a habit of doing that, because I find that some people have a habit of doing that. You know, they'll say it repeatedly. So just try and get that out. And
then another big thing is there's some new streamers who do this. Don't do this. Don't open up your viewer list and look at everyone just like, oh, hello, you all today. Don't do that. Complete opposite of what you want to do.
Right. Yeah. Do not call out the lurkers is the theme there. But that's also a divisive topic, but I generally agree with Rez on this one. Probably not a good idea to call out the whole viewer list, because that'll have the opposite effect of what you'd like to happen most of the time. All right. I had a question from, I saw it here somewhere, Catherine Liz. Chat's moving, guys, so welcome everyone to the stream. Yeah, so Catherine Liz says, how do I make my Discord more active? Sorry, I know you acknowledged this earlier, but can you go into more detail? I fall into the group where my Discord is currently dead. You're not alone, Catherine. Don't worry. But yeah, Rez, what are your tips in this situation?
So the only person who can make a Discord active is the person who owns a Discord. You can't really expect people to go in a Discord and be active unless you are. So best piece of advice I could give someone in making your Discord active, be active yourself. Talk to people. If someone does post your Discord, have a conversation with them. 9 times out of 10, other people will see that conversation and jump in on it themselves. And then before you know it, people are having conversations with other people. You don't have to be the one to start it. But Discord itself is almost a full-time job. You have to be... It's a lot like Twitch. You have to be active to get results.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a lot of work. Discord, I would say with this thing, it's the same thing like Twitch, right? You have to think about, why are people going to come to my channel or to my server? What's the value of my server, for Discord's case? And maybe that's just you chatting and they just want to chat with you more often and your time's more valuable to them. Or maybe there's some theme to your Discord, whether it's around a game or we have sort of like the VIP servers that are like a certain group of people. Just thinking through some reason why people would want to chat in your server is really important. And then being consistent about it, like Rez said, is also very important. And that's hard when you're trying to do Twitch at the same time. So, mods can help you with that in some situations. But to start with, it's going to be a lot of you putting the time in and making it worthwhile.
And I think you touched on something really, really good there. Having a theme, having things in your Discord channel that add value. Don't just set up a general chat and expect people to talk. Have a section for specific things. Like in my Discord, I have a section. I play a lot of Paladins. I have sections for updates on Paladins. I have guides to Paladins characters. I have I have a section in there for just like general talking. I have a section for it's called dank memes for people that want to just basically just find a meme on the internet, post it there. It's just like have specific things that people can look at. That they can engage with.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And one thing to tie in with that is I don't think your server necessarily has to be about you, if that makes sense. Because I'm in some servers where, the server owner is a streamer, but the server is really kind of focused around a game or even just a character in a game. It's that specific. And that'll actually create more discussion and activity than if you were just to create a blank server about your brand when you have, 50 followers.
Yeah, and the way I see it is that on Twitch and most social media, it's already about you. So Discord can be a nice place to have the complete opposite effects and make something not about you and be about your community and what they like.
Yep. Absolutely agree. So thank you for that question, Catherine Liz. Hopefully that helped you, and let us know if you have follow-up questions to that. We're kind of getting close to the end of the hour here already. This episode has flown by, but I'll quickly get through any last questions. Again, tag us with TRUgaming so we see your question. If you already asked it and we missed it, I do apologize. I saw something from Millennium. I think they're just talking about your idea of coming with prepared topics to engage chat. Really good idea, guys. Make sure you do that. Just have some ammo ready to talk to chat or just yourself about stuff, because you'll do that a lot as a streamer. Okay. Last thing I saw was from Meemaw. She said, "What should you look/listen for when watching your VODs?" So that's a good question. Planet, do you ever look back through your VODs and kind of critique yourself?
Oh, all the time. I know that this is a real wishy-washy thing that some people don't go through their VODs. I need to go through my VODs because 9 times out of 10, I can find multiple spots where I do something, say something where I look back and I'm like, man, yikes. So it's one of those things that whenever I go through my VODs, you don't have to watch your entire VOD. You don't have to go comb through every part of, say, I stream for 6 hours a day, every part of a 6-hour stream. Just go to a specific spot in your VOD, and then see what you're doing. And basically the way I see it is that if I wouldn't watch myself for that part of the VOD, then I need to improve somewhere. Always be looking for the places that if you wouldn't watch yourself, figure out why you wouldn't watch yourself and improve upon that.
Yep, I agree, because you are sort of, well, for most people, you're your biggest critic and also your biggest fan. So if you don't enjoy your stuff, then nobody's going to. And
no one knows how to tear down someone or knows how to tear you down or boost yourself up like yourself. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, you brought up a good point there too. You don't have to go through the entire, 5-6 hour VOD of you streaming to do this. Yeah. Even if you're just scrubbing through some of the points and just checking on your audio, your video, how engaging you were, any kind of low points, you can pretty quickly do that in like 5-10 minutes maybe most of the time.
Yeah. Another way to do this is that go and look at your statistics. If you see that there was a dip in viewers at any point during the stream, go to that specific spot and see maybe what caused it. Say that if you're hovering around 20-30 views and you dip to 15, go check it out. Go see what happened. A lot of people don't like to do that because they feel like it's gonna be detrimental to their ego. But to me, it's just like, it's always a learning process. You gotta learn what you do bad. That way you can learn how to do it good.
Yeah, and the thing about that is it's just hard numbers. A lot of the other stuff is sort of subjective in terms of, is my audio up to my standards? Does my video look okay? Whereas looking at your viewer trend will tell you with hard facts, okay, I did this, then this happened. That clearly either works or doesn't work. Yeah. So those are really good ways to kind of adapt and improve on what you're already doing. For sure. Cool. All right. Well, we are just about to hit 12 o'clock noon here, Eastern. So I don't see any other questions, but I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. So, Planet, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was really cool to just learn more about you and all the tips for new streamers. I'm sure it will help a lot of people. Anything you want to say to people before we head off, and of course, where they can find you?
As far as where you can find me, I'm pretty active on all my socials, mainly Twitter and Discord. So Twitter, it's twitter.com/PlanetRezgasm. Twitch, I know, solid name. Twitch is twitch.tv/PlanetRez. I stream every day but Monday and Wednesdays. So Sunday and Saturday I stream at 10 o'clock or starting at 10 o'clock, 6 hours a day. And then Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday I start at 6 o'clock in the morning my time. That's Central Standard Time, US, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Sweet. Guys, go check him out, please. If there's a mod in the chat who doesn't mind dropping the link, that'd be awesome. Definitely drop him a follow. And really, if you use a green screen and you're looking for ideas for production value, this guy does some awesome stuff. So definitely check that out. You'll be kind of amazed. I definitely was. With that said, we're going to wrap up the show for today, guys. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. till 1 for Phone In Friday, featuring Brit Wolf, another new True partner, and I think one other person that I don't know their name, Velok, invited him on. So more details on that soon. But if you enjoyed the show, we are 80 episodes in now. You can find the rest of the show on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Twitch, whatever. Everywhere, just search for Stream or Twitch and you'll find us. And of course, join the Discord if you'd like to be in the official community there. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Adios.